And good morning. Happy August 21st, 2021. I see a few of you filtering in. Make sure you hit that like button. If you are in the chat, please let me know that you can hear me. I think you can see me, but let me know if you can hear me and how it sounds. Good morning, Bob. Yes, Bob Carpenter, one of our admins with us. And I'll let a few more of you filter in here. You are going to notice that I turned on subscriber mode only for the chat. So hopefully that'll make Bob and Joe's jobs a little easier in filtering out the riffraff in the chat. You have to be a subscriber for at least 20 minutes before you can chat. Good morning, admin engineer. Good morning, Renrick. Good morning, Cody over at Mac Telecom Networks. Good morning, Gibby. Good morning. Is that Hani or Haney? My uh like butcher names all the time, and I'm sorry about that. Morning, Jeremy, Dimitri, James is in the house. All right, everybody's filtering in. Make sure they're hitting that thumbs up button. That way, the YouTube algorithm knows that this is valid content. Morning, JH. I'm gonna let. There's about 16 of you here. Once we get 20 people, we'll get the ball rolling. No pressure. Georgie, good morning. Look at that. That might be the highest viewer to thumbs up ratio I've had. 16 viewers and 10 thumbs up. Good morning, Michael. Oh, yeah. So, morning, Prentice. As many of you know, I've been MIA for about 3 weeks, and there's a lot to unpack in that 3 weeks. So, there's, a lot of busyness, obviously, with day jobs and consulting. But then my wife was sick for 2 weeks. I was sick for a week, and just a lot going on. So the one thing I want to say is the amount of emails and text messages and tweets and things that I got asking if I was okay. It was absolutely insane. So thank you to all of you that reached out. Um, Absolutely amazing that people who really don't even know you, when we're in this routine together on Saturday morning, uh, when you start missing that and people get worried and stuff like that, it's the words can't really describe it, but thank you. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. So, morning, Steve Rosenberg, TN Bighorn. Good morning, Nashville. Yeah, just Tennessee in general. The mountains are calling. All right. So the other thing, I don't see Unky Joe or Joe Trelly from cajoling. I don't see Tony's not here either, but yes, and Bob Carpenter, thank you for keeping the kicking horse coffee coming in. Coffee sometimes is the Folgers commercial. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. Sometimes it's just coffee in general. Um okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is we have been testing the deep stack AI integration with Blue Iris, and I am going to be doing some videos on it. Blue Iris has once again won me over with that deep stack integration, and I will tell you that out of um, over 400 notifications, that and specifically what we're looking for is vehicles, so cars, trucks, vans, and people. Out of over 400 notifications just in the last 2 days, we've only had two false positives. And the false positives have to do with light hitting um, a fire hydrant and a fire hydrant being misidentified as a person. It's only happened like I said, two times out of 400. Everything else has been spot on. So what is that? Like a 1%? Um, that's a less than 1% um, false positive rate, which I think is pretty darn good. Now um, there are some requirements to make sure that the AI works properly. Like you should have a certain level processor or graphics card, and we're using a GPU to do that processing. And it's an NVIDIA based card, so there's all kinds of special software you have to download. Um, and so it's actually working. I can't even. People are probably tired of hearing me talk about how well it's working. So we're going to get a couple weeks worth of data. Um, and we are purposefully going to do things like draw bugs to the camera. Um, we've already seen dogs go in front of it, rabbits, and things like that. And there's been no false positive, no detections of those, which is what we're looking for. Trying to filter out things like raccoons, spiders, and things like that. So I'm super hopeful that once we're able to draw bugs and insects to the camera, that this trend is going to continue, and that the only false positives that I'm getting are the fire hydrant. And I can actually, looking at the scene and looking at the model, I can actually um, see how the AI may think that the fire hydrant is a person, right? Because it's kind of body shaped. It's got the two things on the side. I mean, and it's pretty close to human shape. So, all right, over to the comments. JH says, "Is Blue Iris on par with Milestone? Genet, genetic, gen, genetic? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's been a while since I ran the free Milestone version, JH. So I would have to give that a download and check that out. But go ahead, make sure you're putting your comments and your questions over in the chat. Good morning. There's Tony with Quick Tech Solutions. And another exciting thing that happened is the Halloween store is now open. I know it's super early, but we really like Halloween, and so we stopped yesterday. They were open the day before, but we were getting stuff for the kids' lunch, and so we stopped last night. And my wife actually ordered and got a special deal on their website where um, they have like this scarecrow that has a candy bowl, and you sit it outside. And when somebody reaches in the candy bowl, the scarecrow jumps up, screams, and scares you. And it's scared me a couple times since it's sitting in the living room on a box. Um, and so if you go through there in the middle of the night or early in the morning, you get a little bit of a wake up call. But there's a fella locally also that has whiskey barrels for way less than $100. So we I think we're gonna pick up a whiskey barrel, and that'll sit on our front porch, and then this character will sit there. I think that's gonna be um yeah, so Bob has seen the Bob follows me on social media, and I posted a picture, and yeah, Bob, it jumps up and screams at you. And it is actually kind of terrifying, especially if you set the lighting and you get probably got a little mood music. Yeah, Gen Attack. Thank you, Dimitri. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to check that out. Um, yeah, and JH Universal has actually been on our list, and going back to Disney as well for Halloween. The one thing that I'd really like to do is take my wife out to Halloween Town. So if any of you remember the movies from the 90s with Carrie Fisher's mom as the grandma, there's like this town, it's Halloween Town. There's actually a town out in Oregon that, like, starting like in September, is Halloween Town until November 1st. So uh Bob says, put whiskey in that barrel to calm the parents' nerves after they have to calm their kids. Yeah. So where we're at, we're probably not going to get a lot of trick or treaters. We may try, but my wife kind of has a goal that even if we don't get trick or treaters, that at some point in the next few years, we'll be the house to drive by as far as decorations and entertainment goes. So we'll see how that works out. All right. Anything you want to discuss, please put it in the comments. I have been looking at I've been looking at other cameras because I want to start capturing more on the go uh IT stuff. And I like my Osmo Action Cam. There are some things I don't like about it, but if you all and I actually have the Osmo Pocket, which I really like, except to do the you can't do the Wi-Fi connection and the microphone connection at the same time, so that causes some kind of issues. Um, and they've got the Osmo Pocket 2, which fixes that, but it's a $400 camera. So, like, if I'm gonna get a new camera for going around with me, I'm trying to figure out what it is. So, if anybody's messed with this, good morning, TVJ. If anybody has messed with this and has any suggestions for cameras, I would love to talk about that. Otherwise, we're going to talk about TP Link has sent me some more gear. You're going to see some videos on it by the end of the month. And one of the really cool things is and Reolink as well um, are also happy about putting content on TikTok. And I know a lot of you don't like TikTok. Um, I do like TikTok. And so I am going to be posting some, and I'll try to post them on the YouTube Shorts. It's funny, the audience, YouTube versus TikTok audience is a little different, but I will post those shorts on YouTube as well. But it's definitely interesting. All right, questions over in the comments. That's cool. Before I move on to this other Cisco thing, Gibby says on a GWN 7602. Is there a way to see what's on the LAN ports? Well, there should be a clients tab on there, just like every other GWN. Does it not show you, Gibby, if it's a hardwired connection in clients? Is it only showing you if it's a wireless connection? I may have lost some weight over the last couple of weeks, Prentice. I appreciate that. Definitely have probably been outside, just at work and things like that. So may have a little bit of a tan, but I'm always working on my lighting as well. I appreciate that. Yeah, I could take my Canon 50D with me, but I mean, that's an expensive break, right? And sometimes I drop stuff and sometimes I'm in very tight quarters and things like that. I've thought about that, Cody. I've also got an M100, but it doesn't have an external mic hookup on it. So I would have to record everything. And I used to do that, record my audio separately and then mix and post. So I guess I could try to do that, but um, it's definitely interesting. Dennis, good morning. Dennis, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're recovering well. Jack Squat says, I got my new GWN 7660 this week. So, yeah, you're going to start seeing these things pop up all over. I am going to do a quick overview video on it, and I am switching all the Wi Fi here to this. I'm putting a Synology RT 2600 AC back in line just to do content filtering. But yeah, this is the Grandstream GWN 7660. This is their entry into the Wi-Fi 6 market, and it is a fantastic piece of kit. I People are ordering a lot of these. Um, Somebody yesterday, in fact, if you know Tim just ordered every one that the supplier had. He's ripping out all of his Unify and putting in the Grandstream. I'm working with another client in Wisconsin where so if you haven't seen my video on this piece of kit, which is just keeps getting better with every software release. This is the Qnap Cura router. So it's got two 10 gig LAN WAN slash LAN ports back here. It's got 4 gigabit ports, two USB 3s, and it's got Wi-Fi 6 built in. And it might be I have to look it up. It's at least 4x4, if not 6x6. Um, but the way that you can build and manage networks with this, um, we are doing it's at least I don't know, it's like 16 to 20 sites, something like that. And they manage it's for point of sale networks inside of gas stations. And so we are going to end up using this and probably Qnap switches and then Grandstream phones and Grandstream, possibly Grandstream APs. So I have to get this fired up tomorrow and I have to test my WP820 with this device to see how the WP820 works with the Qnap wireless. If it works with the Qnap wireless, then that changes the conversation. So, morning, David Morton. Glad you're in the house. JH asks, as you play with any Edge Core switches? So I'm on the Edge Core mailing list, so I'm always getting email from them, but I have not had a chance to touch a switch yet. Body cams, I probably know people that have access to body cams. I am not impressed with uh body cams in general. Now the technology is getting better all the time, and some of the new ones, like they can tell if an officer falls over and stuff like that. But I would like to see some more advanced features in those and body cams are expensive because they're ruggedized and they can be expensive because they've got a captive audience. But I'd like to see some other features there. John, good morning. Gibby says it doesn't show me anything, but I am using the cloud controller. That's interesting. I wonder if it would be different if you joined it to an on-prem GWN 7602. Be interesting. Now you got me wanting to hook that up and test that out. All my Wi-Fi is going to be Grandstream in the next week, so I'll definitely throw that in the mix if you want. John asked, Grandstream versus Ubiquity, your opinion. John, you're going to have to narrow that in for me a little bit as far as what hardware or services you're looking at. Excuse me for just a second here. Okay. Morning, Unky Joe. Unky Joe is in the house. Good to see you, Unky Joe. James says, Gibby, you will only see wireless clients connected to the AP. The GWN doesn't know about the wired side. You have a GWN 7000. It shows the wired clients, but that router does not connect to the cloud. Yeah, and there's supposed to be a huge rewrite of the router software coming. We did find an Achilles heel to the GWN 7000, and that is you can only have one IPsec VPN site to site setup. So we've had to be much more selective where we deploy that router at the moment. And we are hoping that the firmware fix is going to fix that. And then we're going to have multiple, or that we're going to be able to have multiple VPNs. But they are completely rewriting the software for that GWN 7000. And James, it's an interesting conversation about the 7602 because you can specifically change the VLANs for those LAN ports. I wonder if that's just a simple. I wonder if we're all just missing something there. JH says I can't switch over to Grandstream at least until they get some switches. So start watching Q4 for news about those switches. They're supposed to let me know as soon as I'm supposed to be able to get into the beta testing. So we'll see what happens because they keep asking us what we need to see in switches, and so they're definitely moving that direction, but I don't have any good news. And their warranty is excellent, so you can get extended warranty with Grandstream as well. Morning, Dave Robertson. I just replied to your email. Gibby says this week we did a GWN 7000 with ISP and WAN 1 and Starlink and WAN 2 works perfect. Yeah. Yeah, there's just a couple little things like only being able to have that one IPsec tunnel. That's a deal breaker for some people. Cyber Wasp, thank you for being here this morning. Does Synology make a larger disk station than the DS920 Plus? specs like, oh yes, they make much larger disk stations. If you just go to their site, yeah, they make huge ones. Unky Joe says doing my third 3CX install this weekend. I hope you're making plenty of money on that, Unky Joe. Um, for us, there's no compelling reason anymore to look at 3CX with the Grandstream GWN 6300 series. They have addressed all of those remote work features, and they provide way more features than 3CX. The only other thing that Grandstream could do, and it would probably really upset a lot of people, is they could add auto provisioning on the Grandstream for other manufacturers' phones. And I kind of thought at one point that they were heading there because if you go and you look at model templates, they had an OEM or manufacturers column. So, like, why would you have that there if you weren't thinking about doing other vendors' phones? Yeah, the GWN series of APs, John, are super, super solid. I'm going to do an overview once I get everything switched out. Do I think that Unify 6 is ready for prime time? Well, I guess the question is, do I think that any Wi-Fi 6 is ready for prime time? And excuse me. Like if you're rebuilding your network, I think it's probably a good idea to look into it. Um, but I think I need to do a video on that as well. Yeah, Grandstream APs just so stable and just so easy to use. JH, shoot me over an email and I can tell you the hardware that you would need from the Grandstream side. From the 3CX side, they're going to have you use Grandstream hardware anyway to make that happen. So you may as well just put the Grandstream PBX on the front end. Um, but yeah, we could absolutely um, help you with that. Morning, Robert. Everybody's filtering in. That's awesome. 48 of you, 18 thumbs up. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up so that the YouTube algorithm knows that this is, that you are interested in this content. All right, back to the comments. David Anderson, all my Cloud Key Gen 2s are getting RMA'd for failed batteries. Folks may want to test them out. Yeah, if you've had those Cloud Key Gen 2s, and I just fixed a Cloud Key Gen 2 night before last for somebody. It was actually the Gen 2 Plus, and they had some power outages and stuff. And he said that when he touched it, it was super hot, like more hot than usual for a Ubiquiti device, and that he couldn't get logged into it and stuff like that. And so I ended up restoring. Um, I ended up restoring Unify and getting him back in business, but it was very, very odd what had happened. So I don't know if you pronounce that Ram or Ram. I'm going to say Ram. Asks, in your opinion, for a large 7,000 square foot home, is it a wise choice to go with mesh system or an access point system? So, if you can hardwire your APs, that would always be my first choice if you have the ability to do that. If you don't have the ability to hardwire, then mesh or wireless uplink is going to be your next best option. Because even though I use the power line stuff, you don't get the speed through the power line like with I still need to test the micro tick stuff that I've got, but with the Ubiquiti stuff, I'm capping out at about 50 megabits on the power line, and uh, your newer mesh systems, your newer wireless systems, you're probably gonna get that'll probably be the minimum that you get depending on how your building is laid out. So if you can wire it, I would. And if you look at like the Grandstream system, like they have radios built in, and a lot of the mesh stuff has radios built in specifically to handle that backhaul, so it doesn't um, interfere with your client connections. So that's the advice that I can. I always hardwire when I can, and then uplink or mesh when I must. Oh, look at this. James and Tim. I just sent James and Tim this link um, yesterday. But Robert Coleman asks, anyone have thoughts about using Synology as an email server? So I have clients who are doing that and they absolutely love it. Now, with Synology, you get 5 licenses of the Mail Plus server for free, and then you have to buy them. The really cool thing is that those licenses transfer, right? So I can move them to other hardware. Um, there's actually a case study on Synology's site, and it came in an email. So if you're not on the Synology newsletter list, mailing list, you should go out to Synology and sign up for that. And I guess I could actually start recapping some of this stuff. That's a heck of an idea. I'm going to start recapping some of this stuff in my newsletter because I need to get that out again. If you're not signed up for my newsletter, go to williehow.com and there's a thing on there to sign up for the newsletter. I don't send it out often, but when I do, it's not like a bunch of like marketing like BS. It's thoughts and things about technology and things like that. Um, but I'm going to recap vendor news as a great idea because that will always make sure that I can get my newsletter out in in a in a recurring fashion. But they did a case study, and there is a group of doctors. There's 3,000 doctors in this group, and they needed secure email, and they ended up selecting Synology Mail Plus, and they have a diagram that shows how everything's laid out, and it is fantastic. So yes, I can actually recommend Mail Plus. I have deployed it, and it's a fantastic piece of software. John says, I had issues with VLANs between Unify 5 and 6. Something changed there. Yeah, they're always changing things. So I've had a couple people reach out. There's still a known issue, and it's been an issue for like a year, that if you install the newer version of the controller and you turn on the new user interface, so you hear most of us say, turn off the new user interface. There's still a known issue that if you turn on the new user interface and you create an L2TP IPsec VPN for clients, it does not work. Then, if you create a new site, do not turn on the new user interface and create that VPN, then it works. So I actually have to do a migration for a client tonight over to the new site, but it is still a known issue. So why is that not fixed? That has been a known issue for a long time. Must just not be important. So Jack Squat says, "What do you use to supply PoE power to your Grandstream APs? Whichever switch that we have at the time. As soon as Grandstream has switches, it will be Grandstream. But we use, um, oh man, well we use Edge switches. We use Cisco. We use Linksys. We use D-Link. We use TP-Link. Like, but I mean, you will see a lot of different switches. Um, Let's see. Robert, what are you talking about with the security? Oh, the Synology. So there's not a good um there's not a real good tutorial, and that is actually has been on my list. I know I got a lot of things on my list, but um I have a standard way that I set that up, Robert. So I will do that. Let's see. Unky Joe says, I love the Office integration with 3CX. All of my installs are self hosted and the phones just work. Old Grandstream handsets as well as the handsets with zero hands on the phones. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And Synology email does rock. And it is like somebody took Gmail and like pulled it off of the Google servers and like packaged it up and put it on Synology. Um, so that's a good idea, Cody. Maybe do the newsletters and YouTube shorts as well. Yeah, that is a great idea. Um, and members of the tech quartet, we need to invite Cody over as well. Um, JH says I've deployed Mail Plus with a Barracuda mail filter inline. So we've not even had to have additional email filters in the deployments that we've had. I'm sure with like hundreds or thousands of mailboxes, that may be a good idea. But the built-in spam protection, JH, has worked wonders for us. JH says, in my opinion, you shouldn't buy a non PoE switch nowadays. Yeah, the prices are coming down. And I'll tell you what, Qnap, say what you will about their NASs and everything. They are making a hard push into networking and networking at the edge, and virtual networking. And man, they are going to be a major player if they keep it up. Yes, Unky Joe, I am looking. I'm not looking better, but I am feeling much better. Thank you. David Anderson says, ever look at new Netgear managed PoE switches? Yes, we do use a lot of Netgear. I'm a huge fan of the M4300 series, just because of all of the advanced features that they have. So when we do L3 switching, we are looking a lot of times at that Netgear or Microtech. Tony asked, does the Unify upgrade from the version 5 to 6 still break the VLANs as well, or has that been corrected? Well, it still breaks the wireless. It changes the way that the wireless works, if that's what you're talking about. And that they do have a warning and a post about that, like, hey, when you upgrade, you're gonna have to change the way your wireless works. So I'm actually trading Tim some SSDs that I have for a great big huge 2U Qnap with the drives and some MikroTik switches. And so you're gonna see that stuff here pretty soon too. Yeah, Dave. So supply chain is still messed up. So you're gonna start seeing um a lot of other brands used that are still in stock. I will tell you that when Edge Router X's went MIA, we use so many of the TP-Link TL R605s. It's not even funny. Um, so good morning, Sat Vision. Let's see. Oh yes, Adtran is making a huge push now. They've always had routers and stuff like that, and their routers have always been really good. I've thought about ordering a switch off eBay because I thought that that would be it would be a cool addition to the lab. Yeah, Qnap works if you understand how to do computers, Unky Joe. Um, 60dB says here in the UK, Unify equipment has become almost impossible to get out of stock, and presumably um, because of chip shortage. Is this the same in the USA? Yeah, when stuff is hard to get, it's hard to get. Also, I hang around with the Aussies, and um, Ubiquity had spun up a URL for the store, and somebody was like, "Hey, what's this?" And I've been talking to one of the distributors over there, and they're like, "Well, our sales numbers must have been good enough that Ubiquity decided not to open an Australia store." And I said, "Look, the sooner you accept that they do what they want, the better, because if they want to do it, it'll happen." That's awesome. What NVR was that, Unky Joe? Was that a Blue Iris with your client? So I will tell you that once you understand how the TP link actually, how the firewall rules and the NAT rules work, is actually in the UI more powerful than the Edge Router X. So I need to do a side. I need to do a side by side comparison of those. Oh yeah, so Synology surveillance station is good stuff. It scales really really well. Their AI stuff, they do have that standalone NVR that has the AI built into it using an NVIDIA card. Um, the downside to that is you can only do four, so you can have 30 or 40. I can't remember the max number of cameras on their deep learning NVR, but you can only do four AI tasks at a time. So uh, I will tell you that if you have a beefy graphics card, I think we've got one, two, three, four test cameras on our Blue Iris AI deployment, and it is doing AI on all four of them on a box that's got one hard drive, 16 gigs of RAM. Excuse me. It's got an i7 processor and that high end card. So yeah, Synology is fantastic and it scales really well, and you can have one main unit and push all the permissions and everything from one main place. I mean, it is a really a solid product. Yeah, the Omada router is good. I need to catch up on videos and see what everybody's been doing. And thankfully, Unky Joe and Tony have been keeping me laughing and giving me a hard time over the last few weeks. Laughter is the best medicine. That's why several of my siblings died. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So yeah, the if you haven't tried the R605 for the price for like a $40 router, it's punching in that same weight class as the Edge Router X. So Cody, if you email me, I have the PAT file for that. Unky Joe says I have 9 cams on my Blue Iris, plus I run MB on my unit as well. 10th gen i5. Are you running the AI stuff for notifications, Unky Joe? Ooh, Micro Tick Newsletter 101. I love the Micro Tick newsletters because it shows all their new hardware and stuff. I'm going to have to make sure that I check that out. All right, real quick. Let's take a look at this. So, and somebody was like, Cisco sends out demos? Yes, they do. So they sent me that switch, and then this package showed up. And what is in this package? This is a Cisco CBW14MXS. And what this is a wireless mesh kit. So we were just talking about that a little bit. So you get a power injector for the AP. Of course, you get all the mounting hardware. There's a lot of waste in these boxes from every manufacturer. I don't get it. But as far as the APs go, then you have your main AP, and then you get 2 of these extenders. So we're going to take a look at this and get this set up along with the switches. I still have on hand one of my customer Cisco routers. So I'm going to be working with him. He wants a full Zabbix deployment. So we are going to be looking at that. Excuse me. Yeah, the R605 does rock. MikroTik RB, so router board 5009. I'm going to have to check that out. So here's a good question. John Bentley says, should I have any hesitation in upgrading my customer Synology NASs to DSM-7? Yes, you need to have a rollback plan in place. And while there's no official supported way to roll back from 7 to 6, there is a way to do it. However, I've now had 3 clients who have had problems after upgrading to DSM-7. I've had more clients whose problems have been fixed, but these other clients had pretty significant installations, and so now we're working through trying to figure everything out. Yeah, Unky Joe, TP Link is supposed to send me one of those, but they're out of stock. So I'm trying to get my hands on one of those as well. So if you are going to upgrade to DSM-7 in production, make sure you have all of your data backed up. Make sure you have your system configurations backed up. Make sure you have a rollback or a stuff hits the fan plan before you do that upgrade. Yes, at Vision, if you wanted to make that connection, I'm not sure what the C1111 is. I'm going to have to check that out. Gibby, yes. With the current firmware, you can only have one IPsec tunnel per WAN interface on the GWN 7000. So we've got customers we can't use that for at the moment. Now we still do nested inside of networks for OpenVPN for remote phones when the customers don't want to use Remote Connect. But as the UCM 6300 series hangs around longer and longer, we are pushing more clients over to that remote connect. JH says, I don't update my Synologies unless I need a feature or have a problem. Now, a lot of people do that, right? Is that Unky Joe? Is that the standard 1621 or the 1621 XS Plus? Ah, yes. So Jeremy says I had to do a series of factory resets to get my Synology up to DSM-7. It stemmed from a community package I installed 3+ years ago. So if you don't know, there are community packages and third-party repositories that you can use with Synology. However, I don't. It might be Unky Joe. Do you think we get in trouble for doing videos on that? I'm not sure, but um, um, we'd have to talk about that. Um, but use third party repositories with caution, just like you would on a regular Linux system. Jack Squat says the latest Brothers Wisp podcast discusses both of the new MikroTik routers. I might check that out. I know some of the guys on the Brothers Wisp podcast. If y'all aren't planning on, is anybody planning on going to Vegas in October? I'm probably not going to be there because that's probably when we've been, everything is just so up in the air at the moment. We've got to get our dates nailed down for our Grandstream training because I literally have 10 of you waiting and I just need to, at this point, it looks like it's going to be October. And Bob says, have had several reports from colleagues that DSM-7 wrecked some Docker configs like Pi-hole, etc. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I want to thank you all for being here today. I got to get going and look for content coming this week and live stream next week. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I want to thank you all for being here. If you need to reach out, you need to contact me, you can go down to williehow.com, fill out the contact form. We've got affiliate links down below. You don't have to use those. But yeah, I want to thank you all for being here. I hope you have a great weekend. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.